Welcome back to another Out of Spec Reviews video, and I'm so excited because we are taking the brand new 2022 JCW Mini Hardtop. This is the F56 generation Mini, but it's finally had its LCI, its life cycle impulse, its updates. So a totally new, I say that sort of sarcastically, slightly updated styling, interior and exterior, a lot of driver safety features as standard, a lot of infotainment stuff as standard, more packages, more colors. Mini's just going super premium. JCW starts at about 32. This one's about 40 with everything on it. This is the iconic trim, I think, is the maxed out one. Anyway, 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, manual transmission, all of the makings of a good car. We're talking 228 horsepower, 235 pound-feet of torque, and Tijmen and I are going to take this for a drive. So let's jump in. I love Minis. I've owned, I don't know, 5 of them, 6 of them, something crazy. And I'm just so happy we get to test the brand new updated one. Let's go for a quick drive. And of course, we'll have a full review sometime down the road. Braking test. Got brakes.
It worked. They work.
They work. So we are in the John Cooper Works Mini F56 Hardtop, updated significantly, actually, styling-wise, for 2022, and it's a manual, which is like one of the only press cars that we've been in with a manual. I mean, we've been in a couple, we've been lucky, but for the most part, they always spec the automatics, which is not what you want. So here we go, just throwing it into a corner. Can you turn traction control off for me? Just hold it down. So that's dynamic traction control. You have to hold it for 3 seconds to fully disable traction control. Here we are. Nice. Even a chirp in the third. All right, so JCW Minis are the best at that kind of stuff. We collectively have owned a ton of Minis. What'd you say? We're Mini enthusiasts, Mini fans?
Yeah, at least one point in my life I was.
Yeah, definitely used to be like, oh, living the Mini dream. And now, still love them, but, you know, I think you kind of go through phases.
Yeah,
and
you kind of grow out of it and want to experience other things. And
I think, you know, Mini kind of went soft after the R56 generation, right? This is a much bigger, much more grown up, much more BMW type vehicle. And is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. They're still fun.
They're fun, but there's some things that are just like, just doesn't seem Mini anymore.
It doesn't seem Mini. Like, what would you say doesn't seem Mini?
That heads-up display.
You don't like the new digital display?
Digital display or the heads-up display.
Well, the heads-up display you can just put down.
Somehow.
Man, they've moved all the buttons around for 2022. All right, so let's talk about updates. I've already shown you the styling updates. In terms of mechanical updates, there's pretty much none. However, you can no longer get adaptive cruise control with a manual.
Shame.
Which is a terrible disaster. That was one of the few cars, actually, that you could get a manual and adaptive cruise. At one point in time, I was like this close to pulling the trigger on a custom order JCW Clubman manual with adaptive cruise. But,
I remember that.
Yeah, and so like now you have the Mini Cooper SE, which is pretty interesting, but I'd still probably get a combustion one.
Yeah.
They're very efficient anyway.
Exactly, and then it just also makes it a lot more fun to drive.
A lot more fun to drive. I mean, just rowing your own gears, like drop it in the third, foot down. Something about that is just...
I do think...
freaking moves though, doesn't it? Yeah. That's a big number, and I will not share it with you.
I do think there's a lot of exhaust audio coming through the speakers, though.
Yeah, we need to... I mean, these things sound so good with an exhaust. Thankfully, there's a huge aftermarket to support the enthusiast Mini community. Right. And that's one of the best things about a Mini is it's really a starting point to turn it into your own car. So here we have 228 horsepower, 235 pound-feet of torque. It's the B46 JCW version of the engine, which is a bit of a different tune than the Cooper S engine, or tune for sure, but also internals. It's a physically different version of that B46. It's like the M10 or something like this. It has, of course, front-wheel drive. This is not the JCW GP, which was 300 horsepower, so a significant power increase.
And a lot of different looks. And a more bland interior, I think.
Yeah, well, it had less kit because it's more for driving fun, but then they put an automatic in it. Which, honestly, no excuses. I understand the Chinese market likes automatic automatic, and that's probably what led to the global decision to make the GP an automatic-only vehicle. But the JCWs don't get the dual clutches that the Cooper S's get, and so it's just the 8-speed torque converter auto. It's the ASIN unit, not the ZF that we know and love. So, make sure we're not going to run into anyone. So basically, it's not... like the GP to me never appealed to me. I owned the last gen GP and loved it and really had an amazing time in that vehicle, you know, bombing around. And that was an enthusiast, hardcore vehicle. And this is a mix of an everyday driver, but you can take it out on a back road and have some fun for sure.
Right. I think if you want to just have it as your weekend fun car, you have to do like exhaust and some other small stuff just to make it a little bit better. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. Definitely needs, you know, at minimum tune, intake, exhaust, so you get the turbo noises, the exhaust noises. The F56s to me always feel a little bit disconnected. You see that? Just like super loose bushings, and I don't know, it just never did it for me. Something about the steering always felt a bit awkward. Now I always come into it and then I learn it over time and I get used to it. But every time I get into an F56 hardtop, something about this steering just feels, and it just feels sloppy, doesn't it? What? This is supposed to be a hardcore Mini and we have everything in sporty mode to the max. I don't know. I think, personally, if you're going for an enthusiast car, you get an R56 JCW. And you deal with the reliability of the N14 and N18 engines because they sound better.
Well, just get the N18 and you are in a better situation than an N14.
Yeah, don't get an N14 early one. Make sure you get an LCI. So what would you say, like 2012 to 2015
yeah, I think
JCW?
those are the years.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, the sweet spot of what I enjoy about Mini. But they're all turning into rattle traps, the older ones.
Yeah.
They all fall apart. They just are not built well. This is the opposite. This is almost built too well. This feels like a BMW.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Supra.
It's a little bit like the Supra. Yeah,
a little too much touch of BMW.
A little too much touch of BMW. Anyway, I'm glad we were able to share the Mini stuff with you. I still love this car, and you know, think about buying them all the time. What's the sticker on this thing? It's got to be 40 something. Yeah, I think it's just about 41, 42 the way it's stickered out, and that's a lot of money for a Mini, no question. You know, do you spend the money and get a new JCW, or do you go for like a 2016?
I think you just get like a 2011 GP, and with the extra money,
2013 GP.
Yeah, with the extra money you have, just build the motor and it's reliable.
Yeah, that's the move. I mean, look, this carries through some of the DNA spirit. The quirky Mini stuff is here. The fun dials, the great interior, awesome interior, one of the best in the automotive business, I think. But it just doesn't drive that sporty, sadly, and I wish it would. Oh well, there's your little Mini review, and we'll go back and make sure you stay tuned because we're doing another one soon. Also at rev matches for you, which, like, learn to drive a manual yourself. You know, you went out of your way to buy a manual transmission. You're an enthusiast, so don't give me any of this driver aids. Look, rev hang, and it's just like takes forever. Oh man, it's great transmission itself. It's just the engine tuning is built for someone who doesn't know how to drive a manual.
Right.
It's like too safe. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.